So with the help of keys, we can find different animals. Even we give some examples of inside your classroom that how you can identify your classmate or your roommate using different series of questions, different properties that are asked and answered in the keys, and that helps you to find the appropriate organism, a living organism, an animal or a bird. The second thing was the variation. So yes, Afnan, do you know what variation is, or what was variation?
The difference between the individual within a species.
The difference between individuals within a species. For example, in humans, we are the same species. We all are almost 5, 6 people here. We all are same species. We are in, humans. We all are different. We have different voices. We have different face structure, different type of hairs, not eyes and other things. So we are all verified. We are all varied in different types. So this is known as variation. Organisms that are different. In case of color, in case of habits, in case of speech, they are all the parts of variation. For example, in your book, they have given the example of snails in the picture, if you see in page number 44, actually. So all they are of the same species, these snails, but they have of different colors. So this is also a simple type of variation. People having blue eyes, green eyes, red eyes, not red eyes, with brown eyes, black eyes, these are all type of variations. Even I'm using glasses, for example, Abdurrahman is not using glasses. So this is also a type of variation between the same species, or cats having different colors. They are also, we can say, verified in different regards. Then the third topic is actually, yeah, before moving to the variation, we can say what causes the variation. And according to your book, mainly, yes, the genes are the one responsible for causing the variations. And we said the genes are present in our chromosomes. And where are our chromosomes present? They are present in our nucleus. So genes are the one mainly responsible for this variation, along with the second factor, which we said is the environment. So environment also helps us to build. I didn't had classes from the start, so I used too much computer, or maybe it was from genetics that I tend to use glasses. So it was the effect of the environment on my genetics. So these two things combine together to have effect on the variation. Like I said, genes are present in the chromosomes. Chromosomes are present in our nucleus, and nucleus is the, as we say, part of the living organism, part of the cell. So these are the causes of variation, some of the causes of the variation. Then next thing, if we move, is in this unit is known as inheritance. This is inheritance. So what is inheritance, Ahmed? After a long time, I am seeing you in the classroom. Ahmed, what is inheritance?
Mr. Inheritance is the passing of futures from parents to their offspring.
Yes, very good. I mean, the passing of features, different type of features from your parents, from your grandparents, from your relatives, actually, from elders to the offspring, we can say. So passing of features, passing of the inheritance features from your elders to your offspring is known as inheritance. It's not evident that we get all the features from our parents. Actually, there are many cases in which the features are from a great grandfather or from a maternal uncle or a paternal sister. So they can vary, but mainly, yes, it's the passing of features, passing of same features from your elders. So this is what we can say about I don't exist. Who is this? So inheritance, like I said, it plays very important role in case of passing of the features from your parents to you. So most of your features, the way you talk, the way you behave, the structure of your face, mainly your eyes, your hairs, these are some of the critical features that we get from our parents, mainly from our mother or father, depending on the situation. So mainly you can have your voice of your parent, color of hair of your parents, the color of eye from your parents. Along with that, genes are the one are actually passed from your parents to, and half of the genes are from your mother, half of the genes are from your father. They are passed to you. So we have both the genes of our father and mother. Actually, what we are going to get from which parent is differs time to time, and there's a big theory about it. We don't need to get into that. So mainly, yes, inheritance is the passing of features from our elders to us, from the parents to the offsprings. As we said, genes play an important role in this inheritance structure, and we said genes are the one present in our chromosomes. It's already here. So they play an important role in passing of the features from parents to the offspring. Now, how they are passed, we said there are two types of cell reproduction. One in which cells are reproduced just to be part of our body to make our body grow, and there is a second reproduction in which those cells are passed to another offspring, and as a result, we get the features from. Before we get to the inheritance, and we can say that as we stated here, that the variation depends on genes and the environment. In the same way, the inheritance is also affected by the environment. For example, the language which we speak, for example, we get it from our environment. We don't get it. If we are born in a French environment, we will be able to speak French, or if we are able in Ethiopian environment, we will be able to speak Amharic. So depending on the situation, environment has effect on your features. Or for example, your skin color can get tanned if you are born, or if you live in an area with the weather is too much hot and there is a lot of sun, and you go out in the sun too much, so your skin color can be affected, which is not a genetic thing. So yes, environment also have effect on the inheritance and the variation. These three things they go together actually: variation, environment, and uh, variation and inheritance. They are affected by the environment along with the genetic structure. Example, in your book, they have given some examples for different things. So mainly the example is given of language, and the people are able to speak the language that they are born in or they live in, along with the style of walking, style of playing. For example, you don't learn to play football from inherited; it's not an inherited feature. Playing or reading or speaking or singing, you get it from your environment. You make practice, and you use that practice to enhance your features. And those features, I mean, if it doesn't mean that you know how to play football very good, will be passed. This feature will be passed to your offsprings. Or if you are able to sing very good, so this feature will be not passed to your offspring. So the effect of environment is only for you yourself as an individual, but the inheritance, the effect of the genes is passing from parents to the offspring. So that one is the one that is permanent effect caused by you. And environment effect, like I said, is only from the for the individual itself. Like they are bodybuilders, so it doesn't mean that if you have a good body, if you have a strong body, your son or your daughter is going to have the same good body. It may have, I mean, depending on the situation, but mainly yes, they don't have it. So the next topic is about genes. Like I already said, genes are the one. Wait a minute. So genes are present in our chromosomes, like here it's mentioned already, and they are made up of protein. So nucleus, you said, is a part of the cell. Nucleus is also known as the brain of the cell. It's the organelle to the cell, part of the cell that controls the whole cell. It is also known as the brain of the cell. Inside the nucleus, we have chromosomes made up of protein. And inside the chromosomes, we have the genes. Genes, we have a lot of different genes in us, in humans, as a human, and those genes are responsible for these all features that we get from our parents or that we get from our relatives, depending on the situation. genes play an important role. If there is a disturbance in the gene, then the people who have different genetic diseases or autism or schizophrenia or many other different diseases that are related to brain or psychology, they are caused due to disturbance in the genes. Or in the same way, in or case of cousin marriages, the genes are not able to be completely transferred, and the offspring born, the son or the daughter that are being born, they are not of that good features. So genes are important in any case. In if there is any disturbance in these genes, then the whole body can be disturbed as a whole. So if we ask in which part of the cell is the DNA found, so we can say DNA is the same as gene, so you don't need to be confused mainly. And DNA is present inside the gene is present inside the chromosomes are present in the nucleus are present in the cell. So it's a big hierarchy, but you will get to it when you will read the paragraphs in the book. So DNA is the same thing as genes actually, they are the same features. Uh, So in which part of the cell is DNA found? So you can say that DNA is found in the nucleus. You can easily say chromosomes are also found in the nucleus. Genes are also found in the nucleus. DNA is also found in the nucleus of our cell. But chromosome is bigger than the genes. So genes are, genes combine together to form the chromosome. So they are not the same thing. But gene and DNA are the same thing. So kindly don't get them confused. Chromosomes are made up of genes, and genes are DNA. Genes and DNA are the same things. How the genes are passed, we already said there is a whole process of cell reproduction. I will be posting some videos about that in the Google Classroom, so you can watch from there. So these genes, they are passed from one parent. Actually, two parents are involved, so half of the genes are from one parent, half genes from the other parent. The cells combine together, and they are passed to you or to the sons, to the offsprings, and that is how you get the features of our both the parents. There's a detailed explanation in page number 49 of your book. Kindly read that page related to the cell reproduction, how these cells are reproduced, how they are formed. They are passed from one organ to another. Actually, we did the notes. They should be also in your notes of science when we discuss this topic. I brought different diagrams related with cells and the chromosomes present inside the cells, so you can study from those notes as well while discussing this very topic. Then we have, let me see, yep, we have a second important topic, which is the breeding, selective breeding. Yep. Abdul Rahman, what do you know about selective breeding?
What, mister?
What do you know about selective breeding?
Selective breeding. It's like called the other name of selective breeding is artificial breeding.
And
Like farmers breed one feature of breed one sheep with one animal.
one sheep, same shape.
Same sheep, yes, same sheep. Then, yeah.
You can say animals or plants that have like good characters. They are interbred. We can say this thing about selective breeding, also known as artificial breeding, that animals or plants that have good characteristics, that have the desired characteristics, they are interbred together, and as a result, we get the offsprings with good results. For example, mainly we give the example of goat or sheep. They produce good goat or sheep that produces a good amount of wool or a good amount of good amount of wool or good amount of milk, those sheep or goats, they are selected together and they are interbred. So they are interbred, and as a result, it is being hoped that the offspring that will be produced will have the same features, will be able to produce more milk. Then again, that offspring is being interbred with other offsprings that are able to produce more milk or more wool, for example. And as a result, we assume that we will have different animals, a set of animals that will be able to produce a good amount of wool. So it's not directly, I mean, if it's not like if you select two animals that have good features and you will interbred them and the offspring suddenly will have desired features. It's a long process of 20, almost after 5, you will be able to get this feature. So yes, this feature is used, as I said, in the previous times it was used. People interbred different good amount of good type of wheat, good type of animals. Bananas, for example, are famous in this regard. That the bananas that were old, they had big seeds and they were not that much good tasted. Now we have very good type of bananas. Same goes for the wheat. Actually, wheat is also the same example that has been interbred from the past previous years. Then mainly the farmers interbred hen, they interbred let me say cows, bullocks. Actually, you watch some videos in the classroom that they select the good ones that have meat, good amount of meat. They interbred them together and get the desired results from them. So artificial selection or selective breeding or different names, these are a very important term, and I will be asking it in your examination, and you know it already. So this term will be is important, like you said, we select the organisms with the desired characters or with the good characteristics, we interbreed them together generation to generation in order to get an offspring with good results. Those results can be varied. I mean, animals with giving good milks, animal giving good amount of wool, and giving good amount of eggs. So it may vary which kind of feature you desire. If you don't want your animal to give good meat, so you will select the animals that don't give good meat but have good amount of milk. So you will be selecting, you will be integrating those animals generation to generation in order to get a good amount, a good animal. Selective breeding is important in these regards. In your book, the main example is giving about breeding sheep. So that example is important. Then we have we have natural selection with us. So Fatma joined us now. So Fatma, what do you know about natural selection? Fatma, can you hear? Fatmas, both of the Fatmas are silent actually. So actually my question is to Fatma, then Fatma. Either she is not there or either she is not able to answer. So natural selection is actually the same, not the same thing actually. It's similar with the artificial selection. In artificial selection or in selective breeding, we are the one that select the organisms, that select the animals or the plants or the birds that are to be interbred and the desired vectors are to this chain. In the natural selection, nature is doing this thing, and we can say that nature is doing these things for a long, long time ago. I mean, natural selection is there always. Darwin, Charles Darwin, which we all, for which we watched the documentary, also was the biggest supporter of this natural selection. And according to natural selection, actually, the one with the stronger ones survive. Actually, so this is the simplest way we can define the natural selection. The animals that are stronger, that are able to live, they survive, while the animals that are weak, they die. So if you want to, I mean, there are some examples, especially to how you can live in the jungle. So in order to live in the jungle, you should be the stronger one. or if you are not the stronger, you will become the weaker one and you will eventually die. So animals that have good features, that are strong, they live, for example, lion, tiger, cheetahs, elephants, for example, or the animals that don't have, that are weak, for example, zebra, giraffe, or different type of other little animals, they die. So, according to the natural selection, the one animals that have good characteristics, they survive. Eventually, those animals with good characteristics, they interbreed together because they are the ones they are surviving. When they interbreed, they produce more animals with good features. But of course, it's not like always the animals with good features are born. You know, a cat may have 9 or 6 different kittens, but not all the kittens survive all the time. So among these 9 kittens, almost 4 or 5 of them survive. And again, those kittens interbreed, and then more kittens are produced. But there's always the one that have strong characteristics that are good, they survive, while the one that are weak, they die. So that is the natural selection. In your book, the example of Darwin was about giraffes. So the example of giraffe is given that there were a lot of giraffes with different height of necks. Then one day the trees, there was a drought, and there was no trees, no new leaves were grown, and the one that has little short necks, they were not able to reach the trees or the leaves, and they died. Eventually, the one with the long necks that were able to reach the trees, they survived, and that is how now we got the giraffe with the long necks. Of course, this theory is wrong, and we know that this theory is not correct, but eventually, giving the example of natural selection, this theory can be easily selected about the giraffe. So there is a story of variation here. So what is the variation that the giraffes had? Some giraffe had short necks, while some giraffe had long necks. Then we have adaptation. So what was the adaptation? That the animals with the strong genes, the animals with the long neck, they survived. They were able to adapt themselves to the environment, and the animals with the short necks, they were not able to adapt themselves to the environment, and eventually they died. And in this third one, affecting the size of the population. So the factor was drought, no new trees or no new trees were formed. So eventually, the one with the short necks, they died. And also, I mean, if you are weaker, you may die. I mean, during this coronavirus situation, for example, we can give examples that not all the people die due to only coronavirus. Many people that have died, they already had previous illnesses. I mean, even the flu, people with flu can eventually die, but those people, some of them, they had hepatitis, some of them, they had, I don't know, different other diseases along with coronavirus. So their immune system was already weaker. Then, along with the corona, they got more weaker and they died. People who have good immune system, they have survived coronavirus. So there are many people in this world right now who have survived coronavirus due to the good genes or stronger body immune system. This is also a type of natural selection. I mean, not a good example of natural selection, of course, the coronavirus, but still, if you can see, the weakest one are dying and the stronger one are surviving. In which category we are for still till now, we can consider ourselves in the stronger category, and let's hope we will stay like that. But this is also an example of natural selection, that the stronger ones survive and weaker ones, they die. So there is a comparison between selective breeding and natural selection. So main comparison, we can say that in the selective breeding, we are the one that select the organisms, and in the natural selection, nature is the one that select the organisms. Other than that, not most of the features, they are same, and it takes generations and generations to produce offspring with our own desired characteristics. This happens in natural selection and in selective breeding, both the same thing. So there are some examples in your book about the natural selection. It's about bacteria and antibiotics and peppered moss. Actually, again, the antibiotics are not used for treating the coronavirus, because antibiotics are for bacteria and coronavirus is a virus, so they are not different. But we gave the example that we should not use too much antibiotics. Otherwise, our body will not be able to survive the time when we will get real bacteria or a stronger bacteria in our body, because those bacteria, they develop resistance against the antibiotics that we use or the medicines we take. So try not to use medicine all the times if you know that this thing is mild and you have a mild illness, you have a mild headache. don't use too much medicine, or don't even use medicine, because eventually when you will get a good one, a good change in temperature, or a fever or headache, those antibiotics that you are using already may not work, because the body or the bacteria inside your body has already developed resistance against that very antibiotic. This is the reason mentioned in your book, that is a natural selection. I mean, the bacteria, it develops, it adopts itself according to the situation, and develops itself according to the new circumstances, the new antibiotics that are being taken. And actually, it was a question in your papers also, I suppose. I asked this question, that why we should not take too much antibiotics or too much medicine. And the reason is the same. Our body develops a good amount of resistance against those antibiotics, against those medicines that are being taken. And there is an example of papered moth in your book. And paper moth, like you said, they changed the color according to the pollution. When there was too much pollution, they became of dark color. When there was less pollution, they were light color. So again, yeah, there was an example of adaptation along with the natural selection. The last topic in your book is about Charles Darwin. There's already a good amount of information in your book, along with the documentaries on the YouTube. You can watch about Charles Darwin. I won't be asking you too much questions about Charles Darwin, some basic questions about what he did, what he achieved, and why it is. I mean, the things that he prepared, or the things that he claimed are all true or not according to you, because he presented the theory of evolution, which is still a theory, which means it has not been proved, of course, overall. So theory of evolution is the part of Charles Darwin. So you should be studying theory of evolution along with Charles Darwin. And I don't want a question in the examination that says I don't believe in evolution. You will have to give proper argumentation in case if you want to get good marks in the exams. So those who joined, now I would like to repeat that you are responsible for first unit 3, unit 5, unit 6, and unit 11 for your final examination. Kindly study these 4 units for your exams. We discussed a little bit of unit 3 now. Unit 3 is easy, actually, it's theoretical. You need to study these basic definitions for adaptation, inheritance, variation, selective breeding, natural selection, all these things you can study together. So basic definitions, if you know the definitions, if you have a basic idea, you can solve the question from unit 3. 5 and 6 we will be studying in our coming lessons. Kindly note these questions, inform your friends also. I will be also try to inform them, hopefully, if they will be joining classes. So thank you for coming. Thank you to come this lesson. Have a nice day. Bye bye. If you don't have any questions, of course.